Welcome back. So this is where Bellular talks about fucking GShade and stuff, which is really fucking cool. As I said, I'm part of the GPOSERS team, so seeing like big figures like him talk about this is pretty fucking cool. Even if I'm not as involved as I used to be, it's pretty awesome. Didn't see the healing side atrocity, or was it that bad? I'm sorry. But yeah, see what he has to say.
Right then, Sprouts, and those who have not dabbled in the technical things. Look, if you came from, say, World of Warcraft, you'll be used to very crisp, stylized graphics.
Yeah,
and
as
a game
people
that,
said,
if you like its art style, essentially looks kind of timeless.
People have a mixed feelings about FFXIV graphics.
Real game, like,
people say it's too grayed out. People say it's just not enough like resolution, and I agree. Like, I like WoW's graphics, but I also like Final Fantasies, and I prefer Final Fantasies because I prefer a realistic look. It's just nicer that way. I don't know. I feel more immersed, I guess. It's weird.
Elder Scrolls Online. I mean, damn, I remember that looking pretty good maxed out. Now, FF14 has got brilliant character design. I mean, I love all of the glams, world design, art direction, all fantastic. A few aspects of its technical presentation do betray that it's running on rather odd tech with a storied history.
Shitty engine,
so, yes,
man!
This is a GShade video,
Sucks, dude.
but this is also one that I think will leave you understanding just a little bit more. FF14 began development in around 2005, and it was running on Crystal tools, which, that's an engine, the story of which is a bit of a disaster. Now, for A Realm Reborn,
the games look
they
right, though.
used a custom engine. Again, this time, it wasn't Crystal Tools, which ran the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy, but instead it was a custom engine that Yoshi P described as being a sibling to the Luminous engine. Luminous runs Final Fantasy XV. Well,
that looks
the
good,
Realm
though.
Reborn engine work kicked off January 2011. And, I mean, this is a custom engine. A Realm Reborn released August 2013. So whatever the hell those engineers did, it must have been a pretty damn incredible
Wasn't it
miracle.
2012? Or am I
Certainly
stupid?
Pretty fast, though. And I think some issues can be felt today, as are the implications of ensuring that this would all
it says
work for an
2013.
MMORPG. Unlike FF14 Legacy, which, when completely maxed out, actually looked pretty great, owing to it running on Crystal tools, which really wasn't an MMORPG engine. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, like, this is the thing. Like, 1.0 looks good. It's just, it wasn't good as a game. Which is why, like, I forgive worse graphics if the game is good. And MMOs have to have accessible graphics, otherwise people can't run the fucking game. So, it makes sense.
Then has got high quality character models, lovely large environments, but look close and you will see a few issues. You know, anti-aliasing. Sometimes textures that shimmer a bit. Indeed, it took until the Heavensward expansion to get DirectX 11 support. Now, the game does try really hard, but there are some times that the age shows. And that's okay. That's normal for MMOs.
Yeah.
Graphics are just one part of a game, and FF14 does look great out of the box. But can we make it
You'll see his cat girl a lot.
To start, let's talk about color.
She's cute, though.
In film, color grading is an extremely important part of the process. There's actually people called colorists for whom their whole job is getting color right, because color communicates mood, emotion. It actually helps guide your experience of a movie, from extreme examples like maybe Grand Budapest Hotel,
Holy shit, look at it.
The Matrix, Blade Runner, Fury Road. Now, FF14, and funnily enough, World of Warcraft as well, tend to be quite desaturated out of the box in terms of the colors.
I mean, just look
now,
at
you
it,
might
dude.
think,
Like,
okay,
it's
there's
so
no big
great.
colors, big whoop, who cares?
Like, I hit on this earlier, but, like, again, just, like, look, you compare that to this. Like, I turn my shader off. Now, there's other ways you can do it. You can do it with, like, NVIDIA color settings if that's available to you and stuff. And you can do it that way. But, yeah, like, just removing that gray filter is enough. Like, I don't need fancy pants colors. I just like seeing colors as they're meant to be, you know?
No, it goes deeper. It's important. Because the lower the contrast, the less
fog
able
is
your
good for
eyes
mood, but
to
it's not
determine
good
detail,
beyond that.
Because one of the things that your brain uses to process visuals
Unless
is
it's foggy
contrast.
weather, obviously.
Now, this makes your character and the world look less detailed. The color grade is rather neutral, and
Yeah, I feel bad for
overall,
console
it's a very low
gamers
contrast image. Now, this
in this
does make
respect.
the visuals less crisp and less dramatic. You know, that night scene where a torch is flickering moodily illuminates a city wall.
I like
Lights
Ishgard.
are
Ishgard's
off
cool.
in the distance at night. And then that same color grade, meaning that as soon as you go into Limsa Lominsa, the white stone literally sears your retinas out.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
rough.
Jokes aside, we'll try to fix that bit up. But
it
the point
reflects
here is
a
that
lot,
color
man. I'm
is
there like,
important to your emotional perception of something, and also your perception of graphical fidelity. You could push things in a more moody direction if you really wanted to, or you could keep the stock colors and make them pop slightly more.
excuse me.
There is a few more things beyond
That's
color.
what I do.
FF14's ambient occlusion might not be what you want to use. There's one called MXAO I'm going to get to soon that I prefer. FF14 doesn't really have a great fog solution to help blend the background well, nor does it have a distance blur, which often makes the entire image look very sharp and harsh to the eye, while the details still don't feel enhanced.
I mean, the thing is, like, for me, like, I wouldn't use depth of field in gameplay. Like, I don't know about you, chat, but, you know, when I play, I raid, so, you know, I want to be able to see as much as possible all the time. This is stuff you would apply to, like, casual gameplay, maybe, sure, like, why not? Other games have it, but in a situation where you actually need to see what you're doing, like, I wouldn't do it. That said, like, I do enjoy 14's graphics. I think they're nice. Like, they do suffer from resolution issues and anti-aliasing problems, but overall, I really do like them. I think it suits the game very well, and who doesn't want their characters to look pretty fucking nice, let's be honest.
What's incredible is that we can overcome these limitations in post with GShade. So let's talk about that.
Can you explain what anti-aliasing is? Anti-aliasing is like... It's hard to explain. It's about, like, the edges of things. No anti-aliasing or bad anti-aliasing, like, won't smooth edges very well. So things can look very rigid. You can see, like, pixels looking very just kind of jagged and nasty, whereas anti-aliasing kind of smooths that. You see these options in a lot of games. The differences between each one, I don't know. Like, don't ask. I have no idea. They do make a difference. They're just less noticeable, I guess. Like, once you have anti-aliasing on, like, that's the biggest difference. And the settings between those, at least in my opinion, are minor differences.
GShade is a repackaging of ReShade, which is a post-processing injector, and it works seamlessly with FF14.
For those that don't know, I'm an author and Discord moderator for GPOSERS. Again, as I've said before, I'm kind of on hiatus at the moment because of time reasons, but I've been in the Discord for years, like nearly 3 years. In fact, I think this month is like my 3-year anniversary or something, which is fucking crazy. And I'm not a dev of GShade or anything. I leave all that to Moreau, but yeah, I've been with GPOSERS for a long time. So when I see videos like this from figures like Bellular, it's always fucking cool, man. It's really cool.
And seriously, work it does. If you've ever used modded Skyrim and you have spent hours and hours in technical fiddly things with 50 windows open and trying to get your load order right, trying to get the right
That looks so annoying, man.
I mean, you know how much of a pain in the ass that some of this more technical game modding stuff can really be. Not here.
I need to try modded Skyrim
is
someday.
extremely easy to use. Simply go to this website, download it, and install it. That's all you need to do. Close FF14, install GShade, open FF14, done. Shift F2 brings up the menu, and Shift F3 toggles it on and off. It's that simple. Just use your mouse to browse the presets, look at them, and you're off to the races. If you do it.
Bear in mind, something to mention, like, if you have a less decent PC, like, this game is CPU intensive, right? But like, these shaders are all GPU, right? So if your GPU is weak, you're gonna experience a much lower FPS with big GPose shaders on, so just be aware of that. If you decide to, like, start using it. Gameplay shaders are designed to have minimal effect on your FPS, so those are usually just fine. What shader am I using? I'm using OMG Aortzia gameplay users, usually. So like what he has a GPose shader on now. Oh wait, this is a gameplay one. Never mind. No, this is one of Neneko's gameplay ones. So this one should have minimal effect, but like this MXAO stuff is gonna like make things harder for your GPU. So just keep that in mind.
Any effect though, ensure that they are sandwiched between these two UI effects that you can see in my bar there. That is super important because you don't want any graphical effects to be applying to your game interface.
Yeah, that's the thing of GShade. It separates your UI from the shaders. Nope, gameplay and screenshots. So, just switch between them.
This does lean in a little heavy in so far as how it goes. I'll admit that straight up, but generally I do like it a lot, and here's why. So here's my character's face with no GShade. And here's my character's face with GShade.
Huge, dude. Look at that shit.
The slightly tweaked preset that I'm using does a fair bit here. Now, the tweaking still goes on. You'll probably notice I've been playing around with 1 or 2 different SSAO filters across the shots. It's kind of hard to get that one right, but get it right, and you can see the facial definition is just a lot stronger. Then crazy. Sharpening. Now, sharpening is generally a massive no for me in every game that has it as an option. I turn it off. Now here there is a little bit of sharpening, and you can somewhat see it in her skin. It almost resembles like pores in a not crazy unnatural way. I don't mind that too much, but overall for me it does help to crispen up some of the textures. I cannot believe.
Bear in mind, if you do too much sharpening, you'll start seeing some weird shit, so do be careful. It's worth noting with every single preset, of which there are fucking hundreds, by the way, you can adjust them to kind of fit your needs. So if you find someone that's something that's close but not exactly, just play with the sliders on each shader within the preset, and you can usually get to wherever you want to be. Even with like my gameplay one that's in there. With any of them, you can do the same thing. But yeah, like this game is not great graphically in terms of like detail, so too much sharpening just makes it look fucking weird. But a bit of sharpening is nice, and you can notice it if you turn it on and off.
If I'm saying this about something called sharpening in a game, but here we are. Then next, the colors are a bit stronger, and quite a bit has been done to the lights and the darks. Now, all of this stuff, I think, leads to a more stark, dramatic scene and more defined facial features, which, of course, extends to the glam that I'm using. I mean, to me, it's like, you know those memes of RTX on, RTX off, right? That meme format? It almost looks like that. I mean, I look at my character with GShade off, and it kind of looks like a different character because...
It's like a different game, man. Once you go GShade, you never go back.
And I think that's really important in cutscenes.
Or just shaders in general.
Now, when we move out into the world... I mean, you can really see what this does in night scenes and in indoor scenes. Now, sometimes I warm it up a tad. That's easily changed if you don't want it to be a bit warmer. But overall, the colors just really pop. The world looks sharper, yet a little bit less jagged thanks to that slight Gaussian blur. I'm not too sure how that bit will actually pick up, just given the YouTube video compression. But I do overall think it makes for a more dramatic and...
Typically around patch release, you want to disable stuff like this. GShade is like an overlay. It does not require like disabling between patches. It's not like mods for your game with textiles and stuff. Those have to be disabled, yeah. But GShade doesn't edit your files like at all. So, which is one why it's TOS compliant, and that's proved also by it being supported by NVIDIA Freestyle, which is like their shader stuff. So like shaders aren't against TOS. Obviously, be careful talking about it in-game because it's a third-party application, right? You know, it still falls under that huge gray area, but it's not editing any game files or anything like that. But yeah, it doesn't need to. It needs to be updated when updates are out, but you don't have to disable it. How do I disable mods? The same way you enable them. You just click disable mods and textiles instead.
Cinematic visual experience, and I think that is actually perfect for FF14 because it's a pretty darn dramatic and cinematic game, isn't it? The cinematics in this game especially pop. I think all of the extra facial detail and visual richness just helps to complete the scenes.
Yeah, like, it looks so much nicer.
Now I use Neniko Adventurer, which is one of the Neniko gameplay presets. Generally, with GShade, you will have gameplay presets.
Naneko is one of
non-gameplay
the
presets.
prominent shader
Non-gameplay
creators, by the
ones
way.
usually will nuke your
She
frame
has
rate
so
into
many.
oblivion, and those are designed for people taking big, fancy screenshots. Now, I also know that many people enjoy the Shadowbringers gameplay preset in the Espresso folder. The other Naniko gameplay presets are actually great as well, I think. A few of them are a bit more stylish, even giving you Breath of the Wild-like colors. But there are others that do remain
There's some
faithful
Nier
to
ones as
the
well,
stock
well, Nier
game.
inspired, I should say.
Then there is also in Naniko Endgame, there are a few endgame gameplay shots as well. I'll talk about the endgame folder later because it's got some crazy shit. So actually, let's talk about the crazy shit. So next, if you really are a screenshot aficionado, you're opening up GPose and you want to get the most dramatic shit imaginable, then you're going to have so much fun with the more
There's
out
a
there
lot of
presets.
freedom.
And honestly, if you're the type that's interested in this,
With this, it's kind of nuts.
go through all the presets because the creativity is in you finding what you want for the shots you want to take.
Just again, bear in mind, like, GPU power is a factor here. So like, if a heavy shader, you might lag. So just don't like shit yourself if your game starts stuttering. Like, some of them will drive your GPU to the max.
Now, the Naniko aesthetic and unusual folder, it's full of strange, wild things.
I use that one
just
for
really
GPosing
like
sometimes.
all of those Naniko ones in general. Now, if you want to use Photoshop, then as an example,
Is it
check
too
out
bright?
Arcana
Daytime
Chroma
photos
Key.
are hard. I'm better at
There
nighttime
you
myself.
go. Its character will be keyed out. Easy for use in post. Sticking with Naniko, though, head up their folder and go to the very bottom, Endgame. I believe it's a collab as well with like part of the sort of FF fashion glam scene. But there's some serious screenshot presets in there.
EC is pretty cool.
Like, they are just so cool. We'll have a few of them up on the screen right now, and you can just see how they... I mean, the frame rate's awful, but if you want to take a screenshot, they're pretty damn great. And also in that folder, there are some gameplay presets that you may enjoy using as well. Really, the sky's the limit, but it's just awesome that this comes with so many fantastic presets out of the box. And I think a great way to learn how to use GShade is just to find a preset you like and then tweak it so you can understand what the individual bits do.
This is very true. Like, when it comes to taking photos of presets and stuff for the first time, just trial and error it. That's all you have to do. Just flick through them, see what works for you, try and learn what certain things do. Play with depth of field and things, play with lighting, which is incorporated into GPose anyway. Like, it takes a while. Like, whenever I'm GPosing, I'll always try several. Like, I have a couple that I always fall back on, but if you really want to see what's available, you just have to try them out.
Okay, you might be wondering what the performance hit's like. Look, it can be anywhere from tiny to humongous, depending on what you use. If you're sticking to those gameplay presets, really, you should be fine. Now, as from my experience, look, my laptop does have a 3070. That is a strong-ass GPU. It certainly is not as performant as a desktop 3070, though, and I get a bit of a frame rate decrease when I use an external monitor. So, look, for me, I get a solid 60 FPS with or without GShade, even in combat. Now, this
You
will,
ain't
of course,
getting that in
vary
Limsa,
for
though, buddy.
Everyone. You just need to play around. Some of
see, like, you can see
some of
it.
the visual effects ones, though, that are still marked for gameplay, those really are quite light and should be attainable on most hardware. So you've made it to this bit, and you might just be wondering why.
I was using this on my old
Look, for me,
PC,
it's
and it was
simple.
okay.
I enjoy how this looks. Now, sure, I could, do a more objective thought on this, but in a way, why bother? I basically just
Chaos?
think this
No, he's
makes
on
the game
light,
look
I
like
think.
it came out only a few years ago. I just think it looks better with the effects on. In the cinematics, I just think the characters feel more expressive. I think the lighting is more moody and dramatic. And just like how a movie may not be best
3060
served
Ti
by a
easily,
super
yeah.
conservative color
Easily.
grade, I do think that the vibrant, rich world of Eorzea fits bright, vibrant colors perfectly.
I agree.
For me.
Unfortunately, like, the game just kind of fights itself in this regard. Like, for something like Final Fantasy, which is all about, fucking explosions and magic and all sorts of crazy shit, like, unfortunately, the hardware or its engine just kind of contradicts itself a bit. Which is why once you start playing with these, you kind of realize, man, like, this is what the game could look like.
Final note for an alternative. If you really don't want to use GShade and you have an NVIDIA card, there's actually some good news here. NVIDIA have got their own version. It's called Game Filters, and FF14 is actually officially supported by Game Filters. It's far more simple.
I'm good, Lane. How are you?
Far less. I would just say tweak brightness and contrast. Tweak
you can do
colors,
this as well,
and
yeah.
perhaps a smidge of sharpening. That will be very light on performance as well, from what I understand. And if you basically just want your image to pop just a little bit more, I think it's a really good option that won't involve you downloading another piece of software. But I really would implore you to check out GShade. So there you go. Honestly, I would not play
Come and talk
this
to us,
game
man.
if I have the option anyway. I would not play without GShade. And I'm now in a funny position where I'd really enjoyed playing this game in PS5. But I've got to be honest with you, I really like what the colors do to the game experience now that I have GShade turned on. So
yeah, it feels bad for console
have to get the
gamers.
controller paired up to my laptop and see how things go. Anyway, this is a great option, and I think it's just a testament to the passion around this game that, you know, GShade even exists, and that it's so loaded up with fantastic user-friendly presets that can get anybody going. And by the way, from what I understand, Square Enix really don't care. I mean, NVIDIA Game Filter is basically the same thing, and it is officially supported. Now, don't take this as thinking that you can use... I think there's a thing called Alexander that some people use.
Yeah, Alexander is very different to this, yes. I think that's a whole different conversation that we won't get into. Yes. Man, things fucking spread like wildfire, don't they? Holy fuck.
Or, you know, parsers, things like that. Like, we all know those exist.
Hey, I use that.
But those are bannable offenses, right? So that's, you know, that's not the thing to use. I believe there was actually a statement from a Square employee on a forum a while ago where I think they just said, like, you know...
Yeah, so, like, this is a post that still exists. Honestly, the fact that it's supported by NVIDIA is honestly more proof that it's okay than this post at this point. Because this post is like 8 years old. He did not say Titan firm, no. Oh my god. That's another different topic. But yeah, like this post still exists, like, and it's not been retconned or anything like that. Again, just honestly treat it like another third-party application. Don't talk about it publicly in game if you can help it. Just because, you know, I wouldn't want anyone to get banned just for talking about using third-party shit. We don't know when Square Enix would start coming down on it, even though there's nothing in the TOS about it, really. But yeah, like, you know, there is evidence to fall back on should that ever happen.
Not officially supported, so we can't take any responsibility for, you know, anything that could happen if you're, like, running another bit of software. But they'd seem to be fine with it, and it's been such a part of the FF scene for such a long time.
Yeah, but so is ACT.
And I've really not heard a peep of anything.
And that doesn't
being
mean
done
that's
about
okay.
it. And people openly talk about it on social media and in-game, which makes me think they really are pretty much
Don't
just
risk
fine
it,
with
man.
So that's my thoughts on that. And I suppose that's it for the video. Have fun. I'll tell you, if you're trying to get MSQ before Endwalker, do install GShade, but do so with caution, because I lost a good 3 hours of progress through just fiddling around with filters and running around Limsa looking at people's glams. So, there you go. That's
hey,
it
I
for
do
me.
that too.
Thank you for watching. See you later.
Thanks, man. Yo, this sounds good, man. Holy fuck. Yeah, man, GShade's cool if you're looking for shaders and stuff. I actually have a command attached to it as well. And if you have any questions, any concerns, please do ask away. Like, you know, I advertise this because I'm part of GPOSERS. You know, I'm not like a shill or anything. But honestly, like, if you're able to support it, it's fucking game-changing, man. It's what I use on the stream every single day. And it just helps, man. It's just pleasant. Whether you GPose or you just gameplay or whatever. But yeah, man, a good video. I think he covers a lot well. I think he could have covered more of people's presets. I think if I had to criticize the video for anything, I think he could have maybe like given more examples. But it also depends how much he's used himself, so yeah. Anyway, good video.